Ever feel like you're pushing a boulder uphill? You get this amazing idea, right?
Mm.
And you just know it would make a difference. But the second you try to get things moving, bam, it's like hitting a wall.
It's tough, for sure.
Like we've always done it this way. You're stuck swimming against the current, you know.
I know exactly what you mean. We've all been there.
And that's what we're diving into today, inertia. But what's so cool about what you brought to the table, these excerpts from Navigating Inertia,
Mhm.
it's not just about U.S. being stubborn. It's about how this force, this inertia thing, it's in everything. Organizations, industries, like whole systems even.
It's about understanding why things stay the same, even when, honestly, deep down, everyone knows change is needed.
Right. And it's not always obvious why. At least it wasn't obvious to me. Like I always thought inertia was just people being set in their ways. I don't like change.
Yeah, it can definitely feel that way.
But reading Navigating Inertia, there's so much more to it. Like, did you know there are different types of inertia?
Oh, absolutely.
One that really struck me was this capital inertia.
Ah, yes. The classic sunk cost dilemma. It's like imagine pouring your heart and soul, not to mention a hefty budget, into a project, years of work, and then you realize it's becoming obsolete.
Ouch.
And that's when those past investments, they create this resistance to change, even when, logically, you know you should shift gears.
It's like you're so busy trying to patch the holes in a leaky bucket, you don't even see the new, better bucket right next to you.
Yeah, exactly. And it happens all the time. Companies get so focused on what USED to work, those past successes, they miss what's right in front of them.
Which is why some companies just can't adapt to new tech. It's not that they don't want to. They're literally held back by their past investments. But there was another type of inertia. This one really got me.
Let me guess. Social inertia.
Yes. Those unwritten rules, we don't do that here. I swear, it's like an invisible force field in some places.
It really can be. Those unspoken norms, they can be tougher to shift than anything.
It's not even about the tech or the money then. It's us. We're creatures of habit, even when those habits, well, they stop working for us.
And here's another layer. Whose perspective are we talking about? Are you the supplier, the one comfortable with how things are, or the consumer, frustrated because things won't budge? Huge E difference.
It's so true. It's like that same situation can look totally different depending on where you're standing.
Yeah.
It's less inertia and more like a law of physics or something. You can't escape it.
In a way, you're right. Think about it. If everything changed constantly, we'd have chaos. But, and this is a big but, there's a fine line between stability and stagnation.
So it's not that inertia's good or bad. It's
That's
just
sad.
IS. But knowing when it's helping and when it's holding us back, that's key. Which brings us to a perfect example. And a cautionary tale, all in one. Blockbuster. Talk about a blast from the past.
Oh, for sure. A true cautionary tale. Navigating Inertia uses them to show, like, what happens when you cling to the old ways too tightly.
They were the kings of movie rentals.
Okay.
And then, poof, gone.
It's almost Shakespearean. Brought down by their own success, unable to see the future unfolding.
So busy counting those late fees, which, let's be honest, used to be their golden ticket. They didn't even notice the entire world was shifting to streaming.
It's a common thread, sadly. Navigating Inertia dives into how this shows up everywhere, not just Blockbuster.
Oh, yeah. Retail is a great example. Online shopping has been a huge wake-up call for businesses that thought they were untouchable.
Those poor brick-and-mortar stores, they were used to holding all the cards. Physical presence, instant gratification, that was the experience. But while they hesitated, Amazon swooped in and completely changed the game.
And Amazon was fearless, right? No baggage, no old-school thinking holding them back. They were born in that Genesis stage we were talking about. Free to experiment, free to disrupt.
And disrupt they did. Which brings us to another classic example, the automotive industry. Traditional car companies, they're scrambling to keep up with Tesla.
Talk about an uphill battle.
It's a perfect illustration of battling that capital inertia we were discussing. These automakers, they poured billions into combustion engine tech. I mean, their entire business was built around it.
And then Tesla comes along. Like, hey, remember electricity? Yeah, that's the future.
Imagine trying to turn a giant ship around in a bathtub. That's what those companies are dealing with, the existing infrastructure alone.
Years of expertise, tons of people saying, but this is how we've always made cars.
Exactly. And that's where leadership really comes into play. It takes guts to challenge the status quo, especially when you're potentially disrupting your own legacy. But like these examples show, hesitate too long, and you're playing catch up.
It's making me think about healthcare. Navigating Inertia talks about how slow telemedicine adoption's been, even though it could be amazing.
And healthcare, that's not an industry where you want to be stuck in neutral.
Right. We're talking about people's well-being. It's not just tech either. Regulations, privacy concerns.
Hmm.
Even doctors themselves can be resistant. They're used to doing things a certain way.
It's this tangled web of factors, but the good news is there's progress.
The pandemic, as awful as it was,
It forced their hand, didn't it?
like someone hit fast forward on telemedicine, suddenly it wasn't just an option, it was essential. Proof that even in the toughest areas, change can happen when the pressure's on.
Sometimes you need that disruption to break through old habits, but ideally we want to be ahead of the curve, right? Adapting before the crisis hits.
Okay, so we've seen inertia in action, different industries, even a global pandemic.
Mm.
But how do we actually fight this thing?
Yeah.
Navigating Inertia mentions this wordly mapping.
Right.
And I'll be honest, it sounded kind of intimidating at first.
It's not as complicated as it seems. Imagine you're getting a bird's eye view of your whole organization. Yeah. A map that shows not just where things are, but where they're going.
Okay, I'm picturing it. What are we mapping, though?
Everything. The pieces of your organization. Products, services, even your customers. And here's a key. You're putting them on a spectrum of evolution.
Evolution, like from simple to super advanced.
Exactly. You're charting the life cycle, essentially.
Yeah.
So take a product. It starts as this brand new idea. That's your genesis stage. Then it becomes more established, more widely available, until eventually it's almost taken for granted, the commodity stage.
So, like Amazon, back in the day, they were Genesis with online shopping, while traditional stores were stuck in commodity mode.
Exactly. And by mapping it out, you start seeing where the inertia is hiding. You clinging to commodity stuff that's actually preventing you from exploring those exciting Genesis opportunities. That's the question.
I'm getting it. It's like suddenly you can see right through your organization. Those inertia traps can't hide.
Blind spots revealed. And it's funny, those blind spots, often they're things that USD to be your strengths.
Like Blockbuster and their late fee.
Exactly. Back in the day, that was pure profit. But when everyone moved on, holding on to that commodity idea, it blinded them to the future. And you know what? Navigating Inertia actually uses them as a wordly mapping example.
No way. So you can actually see how Blockbuster got stuck.
Oh, yeah. It's all right there on the map. You can trace their whole downfall back to those commodity elements they just wouldn't let go of, even as the world shifted to Genesis, streaming land.
That's wild. It's like those aha moments when a light bulb goes off. But a map only helps if you know how to read it, right? What do we do with this? How do we actually beat inertia?
That's the exciting part. Once you've found those inertia zones, you've got to come up with counter tactics.
Hit me with them. What does navigating inertia recommend?
One big thing is investing in knowledge capital.
So not just like hiring new people with the latest skills.
It's about the people you already have, empowering them to learn and adapt as the industry changes.
So instead of fearing change, your whole team is excited at it. That would totally shift the vibe, wouldn't it?
100%.
What else?
Navigating Inertia talks about building systems that can flex, designed to evolve.
Agility. Less rigidity, more. Going with the flow.
Exactly. Agile methodologies, flexible structures, being okay with experimenting, and maybe messing up sometimes. You learn from it.
But even with all that, if the company culture is stuck like that social inertia thing, we've always done it this way.
You're right. That'll hold you back. Changing mindsets is just as important as changing those systems. And that takes good leadership. Leaders who aren't afraid to say, okay, what if we tried it this way?
Being open to new ideas, taking risks, even failing sometimes.
Exactly. Because if you never take risks, you're guaranteed to stagnate. And navigating inertia makes a great point about that aligning rewards.
Oh, like you get what you reward.
Right. If you want people to embrace change, incentivize it. Don't keep rewarding the old ways while expecting everyone to jump on board with the new.
That's so true. So as we wrap up here, I want to bring it back to everyone listening, because this isn't just about big companies, right? It's all of us.
Every single day.
We resist that software update because we know the old version.
Yeah.
We stick to routines even when they're not working. We're creatures of habit. But the good news, we get to choose our habits.
We can decide which ones serve us and which ones are holding us back, and recognizing that's the first step to breaking free.
And so think about it. Where do you see inertia playing out? Maybe in your work, maybe your personal life. What's one thing you're holding on to, even if it's starting to feel stale?
And what's one small thing, just one, that you could do today to challenge that? A new approach, a conversation you've been putting off, maybe finally learning that skill?
Breaking through inertia doesn't have to be this huge EE thing. It starts small. It's about awareness, that aha moment, and then those little steps, day after day. That's how you make real change happen.
So go out there, challenge the status quo, get a little uncomfortable, that's how you grow, and see what happens. You might be amazed at what you can do when you break free from inertia's grip.